Hi everyone, welcome. An hour later than normal, but welcome to this week's cooking class, I guess you can call it. Today, as promised, we're going to do a mushroom and green pea risotto. Hopefully you guys have your ingredients ready as per the recipe instructions, because mine is already done. So we have everything here. The sausage, I did say have it out of its casing. I left a couple out or inside the casing just to show you guys what I was doing, and you guys, if you haven't separated it, you can do that now. Well, let's get started. So with the sausage, basically just little pieces, little balls. Okay, they can be different sizes. It's all going to cook up well inside the pot anyway, so you can just remove it from the casing if you haven't done that. If you have, then go ahead and separate the meat into smaller pieces. Okay? What we're going to do is we're going to cook the sausage first in the same pot that we're doing the rice in, and that way all the nice caramelized flavor will stay in the pot when we cook the rice. Okay, so I have one more to do. Hopefully you guys are good. So I chose risotto this week because it's one of my favorite things to eat. I like serving it for dinner parties. And I think a lot of people are kind of afraid to make it because you have to kind of spend time standing over the stove. So yeah, it takes a bit of time. It takes a little more attention than normal rice, but it's worth it. So we're going to do it, and it's really quite easy. It's not that difficult to do. Okay? You got to pay a little attention that doesn't stick and burn, but besides that. So I have about a pound of sausage meat here. We're going to bring it over with the rest of our ingredients. Drop this. Turn on your stove, get the pot hot. I have a small container here.
There's a question. Is it okay to cook in a big pan?
Absolutely. Yeah, your liquid in a big pan, if you're doing the risotto in the pan, the liquid will probably evaporate a little bit quicker just due to the fact that it's a wider surface area. But absolutely. In fact, I used to have a really good pan that I used for risotto that I couldn't use because of the induction stove, so I got rid of it.
So another person just joined in. He wants to know what he's missed.
I just took the sausage out of the casing and just separated it into small pieces. That's where I'm at right now. The stove is on, the pot is getting hot, and this is probably going to take a few steps here. I'm not going to throw it all in because I don't want the sausage steaming. I actually want it browning, so I'm not going to throw it all in the same. If you have a big pan like someone is using, then go ahead and put it all in. As long as there's some space between the meat, so you actually get them browning and not kind of steaming. And we don't want steamed sausage. So I'll have a little bit of separation between. It should be good. I'll have basically two batches here. While that's browning, I just want to, actually I was saying before, this is going to go into a small, so if you don't have a glass dish or something on the side, we're going to put the cooked sausage meat in here while we're making the rice, and then add the sausage meat again towards the end. So if you don't have that, go ahead and get something out, put it next to the pot. Dinner parties, that's what I was kind of getting to. If the kind of thing where you like to be sitting with your guests and you feel like you don't want to be standing 30 minutes standing over a pot of rice, there is a way you can do this. I'm sure if the purists would probably say it's not, but the restaurant I used to work in, we used to do this. We used to pre-cook the rice maybe halfway so that it was very al dente. And then we put it in a sheet pan, cool it, leave it in the fridge. You get an order and you could just serve it up. So if you're having dinner guests and you want to make the rice, you can make it the day before, throw it in the fridge in a sheet pan, and that way you have it, then you only have maybe 10-15 minutes of cooking the rice. Just going to give it, you can see it's browning. Don't worry if it separates. Okay, it doesn't matter. The olive oil and the fat coming out of the sausage on the bottom of the pot is good. We want that later when we do the onions and the garlic and when we throw the dry rice in. Not now. Get my wine. So the heat on the stove is medium high. Okay, I want this to cook quick. I want it to brown. Also a reminder, my stock is here behind. It's hot. If your stock is not hot, get it going in a pot. Okay, the liquid that you're using needs to be hot. Okay, like the temperature of the rice that you're going to be cooking. Good. So this is ready. I'm going to take these out, add the rest of the sausage. Get that cooked up. Now someone earlier sent me a message about the rice, rinsing the rice, whether you should rinse. I know with some, depending on the kind of rice you're using, you want to rinse the rice beforehand. In this case, the Arborio rice, you want the rice to be kind of creamy when you're finished. And if you rinse it beforehand, you're going to get a more drier rice. So you want the starches to be on the rice before it goes in, so that it gives you a nice creamy texture at the end. Okay? So as you can see, I have sausage meat is browned. Okay? Got the rest going in. I figured during this meal I'd be having a little bit of downtime where we maybe have some quiet time. So what I'm going to prepare today at the same time, once the rice is on, I'm going to make a really quick dessert. Not for you guys to make now, obviously, but for something just for future reference for you. It's super healthy. It's got 3 ingredients, and I'll explain more later. Okay, this one's almost done too. I'm going to lower the temperature now so I don't burn the onions. They're going in next. Down to just about medium or so. And the sausage is coming out. Don't worry if your sausage is not quite ready yet. You can keep going. No rush. Now here I'm going to add the onions first, not the garlic. Okay, the garlic tends to burn much quicker than the onions do. So just the onions. That's a half an onion. If you're cooking for more people than 3 or 4, you can go into a full onion. Okay, let that cook. Medium heat. And go for a little while. Get your wine ready. Half a cup of white wine. Dry, hopefully. Okay, throw in your garlic. Now it's going to start smelling really nice. If it didn't smell really nice already with your sausage. And the wine will go in next. Actually, that's not true. I'm lying. sorry. We're going to put in the rice next. And then we will, so the rice, 2 cups of rice. Put the rice in. And give it a stir. Yeah, my wife once watched me make rice, and her brain shut off at this point when I had nice coated rice kernels, and this is how she thought rice was supposed to be cooked. It was really crunchy. Okay, now we will add the wine. Okay, and let that cook down. And at this point, once the wine is getting absorbed, we will start adding the stock. Okay, these first few processes, the first few steps are quite quick, and then you'll have time for a glass of wine or whatever it is you're drinking. Okay, so now a little bit at a time, I'm going to put in 2 to 3 ladlefuls of the hot stock. The temperature, you should have, as you can see, just enough stock to kind of cover the rice. And we're going to let that, we're going to bring it to a quick, it's already simmering because it's hot. And I'm going to turn the temperature down to medium, and I might actually go a little bit lower depending. I don't want it sticking and I don't want it burning. Question?
Question if it was Portuguese wine.
Actually, it is. Our SEQ here in Pointe Claire, the wonderful Julie Marie, who's unbelievable and has never failed me on suggestions for wine, suggested this Portuguese, very dry white. Good question. These days, I'm pretty much only drinking Portuguese whites or Spanish whites. So give it a stir. Now this is where the attention is going to be to because we're using so little liquid at a time, you got to be careful that the rice doesn't stick to the bottom and start to burn. So I haven't salted this yet. I'm not going to salt it now. I will salt it towards the end. Okay? Unless your stock is salted, hopefully not too salty. Okay? So this is great. I will tell you, kind of give you an idea when I think the time would be to pull it off and cool it down if you wanted to make it in advance for a dinner party. But we just started, so we're not quite there. So you can kind of see the liquid is already being absorbed. Okay. We're almost ready to add a little more stock to this. So you can notice that my stock is quite dark. I didn't have chicken stock, and I could have made some this week, but I had some lamb stock that I had made a little while ago, and I put it in the freezer. So I thought I would use that. So this risotto will be a little more, much more depth of flavor for the lamb. If you don't like lamb, I wouldn't suggest using lamb broth, but in this case, that's what I'm going with. Okay, so it's pretty much dry up. So I'm going to add some more stock. Two ladlefuls should be enough. I don't want to have too much and let this go down. You can even stop at 1 and just give it a little more attention so it doesn't burn. Okay? While this is going, I'm going to make the dessert. So this dessert consists of very ripe bananas. Keep an eye on your risotto. Should be good for a little while. So very ripe, very sweet bananas in here, mashed up. This recipe has 0 sugar in it except for the sugar that's in the fruit. And just mash it up. 2 cups of liquid, 2 cups of milk. Coconut milk is what I'm going to use, and almond milk. Okay, 1 can of coconut milk. I have 2 kinds. This is the kind I bought today. This is just pure coconut and water. No other ingredients, no thickening ingredients, nothing. This is a cheaper version of coconut milk. It's got all kinds of other stuff in it, extract, potassium stuff, whatever. Okay, so I decided that I don't want to use that for this. So I'm going to mix that in. Check on the risotto. It's good. Almost ready for some more stock, not quite. Go with whatever you're using. If you notice that it's dry, add more stock. A couple ladlefuls at a time at most. This is just about ready. I'm going to come back here and continue for a second. So 2 cups. This is 400 mils, I believe. So I need another 100 mils. I'm going to add almond milk to it. 100 mils is just under half a cup. Well, I'm going to come back to this. I want to make sure that risotto is not sticking. So come back to that. Good. So again, you can see when I give it a stir, I see very little or no stock at the bottom of the pot. I'm ready to add some more. Okay. Any more than this, it'll start to stick and burn. Now to say there's a time for this, how long it cooks, I just go by how the rice feels. Okay, if you like it a little more al dente, you can have it. Just gonna taste it and see how it goes. Okay, it's looking good. It smells fantastic. So now we have 2 cups of liquid in here, mixed in. It's okay if you have chunks of banana anyway. Okay? If you want to use a blender, you can use a blender to make sure it's all blended up. The recipe says not to, so I'm not going to. Chia seeds is our 3rd ingredient. Six tablespoons of chia seeds. And that's it. Now with chia seeds, you need to really stir them well to get them absorbing the liquid. So 6 tablespoons. Question?
You have a hi from Evan Harding.
Oh. Hi, Evan Harding.
And one person just caught up.
Good, so that'll give you a chance to catch up. So this give a stir. Now for 30 minutes, let it rest, and then give it another stir 30 minutes later, and then let it rest in the fridge for a little bit. It's not the kind of dessert that you can make and eat immediately. It does take time for the chia seeds to kind of firm up. That's it. I'm going to top it with some toasted coconut, and that's a dessert. It's amazing. So something for you guys to try next time. Okay, now this rice is starting to absorb the liquid a lot faster, and it's ready for another 1 ladle, I think, at this point. You don't want to add too much at a time, like I said, because then you might end up with too soupy of a mixture. Now, if you ever had risotto in a restaurant, oftentimes it comes really, well, kind of soupy, right? That's the way I like to have it. Some people let it go a little drier. Problem is, if you don't eat it right away, you end up with this really kind of clumpy mess of rice. So, should be plated, not quite runny, but wet. to the question.
Can our neighbors borrow 6 tablespoons of chia seeds?
Which neighbors?
The ones behind.
The one behind. Sure, they could borrow 6 tablespoons. But chia seeds are expensive. It'll cost you about $15.
And our other neighbors say hi.
All right, since we have some downtime, last week I mentioned green onions in the that I put into the salmon cakes. And I said we would try. My sister saw it somewhere where you take green onion and put the ends in water and then it'll regrow. Well, I guess she wasn't lying to me. So it's starting, not quite where I want to use it, but as you can see, the green onion is kind of re-sprouting or sprouting back up. So we'll see what the finished product is like once it's up and give it a... My neighbors are coming for chia seeds. Go. Take the bag back.
John Zakula says that's really cool. About the
Green onion?
green onion.
Okay, adding liquid faster and faster now. If you go and take a little piece of rice and just give it a little taste and give it a bite, you'll see that it's still quite hard. And if you look at them closely, you can see it's quite white, but it's starting to go, you can see it's starting to change color. Okay, so it's getting there. I think at this point, this would be a good time if you were making this in advance for dinner with friends in 6 months. This would be a good time to take it off. Just be aware that there may be some sections in your pot that might stick. Make sure you get those parts scraped up or it will burn. Okay, so doing well here. If anybody has any questions or is cooking with somebody watching and you have something you'd like to ask, now would be a good time since I'm kind of running out of material. Yeah, if not, we'll just keep stirring, keep letting this cook and evaporate. Just as the rice is almost ready, we will add the peas. Put the sausage back in because the sausage isn't cooked yet. So we'll do actually the sausage first so that it's make sure it's fully cooked, right? And let them impart some of the juices in the sausage will help add a little extra flavor to the risotto, to the rice. We will parsley just before serving, Parmesan cheese just before serving, and of course seasoning with salt and pepper, which we will do shortly for the salt. Okay, and I'll just salt it a little bit at a time so that we don't over salt it accidentally. All right, and just before we get it on the plate, give it a salt, taste it, and stir it up one last time. Okay. Ready for a little more stock here. Again, you can use any broth you like. If you're making a mushroom risotto, you can, and you're using dried mushrooms, you can, when you reconstitute the dried mushrooms, that broth, that liquid that you've used is fantastic and it's got tons of flavor. So you are, I would done it before, it's great. You can take that and mix it with some chicken stock and you'll have a really nice mushroom flavored risotto. Vegetable stock works great. Chicken or veal stock. Well, chicken is the most common, I think, that people use, except for cooks that decided to use lamb instead. So we're going to give this a little taste just to see how the rice is doing. I think we got about 10 more minutes left on this. Yeah, I don't think any more than 10 minutes. If you taste it, and half an onion is plenty. Okay? It's really quite oniony. There's The garlic, I use 2 cloves of garlic, is quite, really tastes the garlic as well. So we're good. Add a little salt. Just a pinch, maybe about a teaspoon of salt. For those of you that tried the salmon cakes last week, or if you've tried them since, I imagine you had leftovers. I think I made, with those 12, I think we had 3 meals between us. I ate salmon cakes all week, so they were fantastic. I really liked them. My dog is here wanting to play with. Hopefully no health inspectors decide to visit. They'd shut me down pretty quick. Now the rice is getting close. Like I said, we're about 5-6 minutes away. The sausage meat is browned but not cooked. Okay, so we can throw that in. There's going to be a little bit of juice there as well from the meat go in as well. That's nice. I love this cast iron pot. This week on Saturday I made some, if you saw the pictures, some sourdough bread, and cooking the bread in this thing is it's fantastic. You get a really similar product to what you get in a bakery. So if you don't have one of these, this is a really nice investment, okay, for somebody who likes to cook.
Someone says they're about 5 minutes behind you.
Okay, so just keep adding stock. Maybe don't add the sausage yet, and just keep adding stock until the rice is cooked. You're probably about 10 minutes away from your rice being cooked. Now you had about 5 cups of stock. You should be getting close to the end, maybe another cup and a half left. You might not have to use it all, or 6 cups of stock. If you run out of stock, then you can use water. Okay? Water will do just fine. A lot of the flavor from the stock you were using before is already in the rice, so adding water at this point is not going to make a huge difference. I still haven't adjusted the heat, so if you find again like you're sticking or burning, maybe your heat is a little bit too high, lower the heat to just below medium. Mine is holding medium and keeping the simmer quite well. What you don't want is if your stock isn't hot, then your rice is constantly going from cool to hot to cool to hot. This way you get a constant temperature, it keeps cooking nicely.
Someone says they're about 15 years behind you in skills.
All I'm doing is stirring. Anyone can stir. Let's give this a shot. We're close. We're very close here. Right? It does need salt though. I use spicy sausage here. I always use spicy sausage. The rice has a little bit of a kick, but not too bad. Another teaspoon of salt or so. That might be all you need. Now I'm starting to get some spots where it's sticking at the bottom, so just going to make sure I really scrape around the whole bottom of the pot.
Someone says they're having risotto for dinner tomorrow.
As you can see, it's really quite easy. You just need to be standing here giving it attention, that's all. And you can see it has a nice creamy texture now. There's no cream added. I see a lot of times if you're watching cooking shows, they may add cream to your risotto. I believe if you're a purist, and I'm not claiming that I know anything about authentic Italian food, but I don't believe there's any cream added to a real risotto. the creaminess comes from this process here, being patient and stirring.
Someone said they missed the beginning. What kind of sausages are you using?
Italian sausage. I guess you could use any sausage, but if you're using like a honey mustard, it's going to add a pretty funky taste to your risotto. So I stick to Italian. I like the spices, the seasoning in Italian sausages. I went to the grocery store today, and I was going to go to Costco to buy my Italian sausage. I guess I have time, I can tell this story. When I was a kid, my parents used to drive down to Saint Laurent, north of the Met, and they used to buy Italian sausage directly from the manufacturer. I think the place was called Fantina and Mondello, and they used to sell sausages to the public, the general public. And many years later, when my parents had moved to Toronto and I was still living here, took a drive down there looking for the place, couldn't find it. So I called a bunch of places, trying to find these guys, and I finally got a hold of their office, and the lady who answered told me that they didn't sell to the general public anymore, but that the Kirkland brand sausages from Costco were in fact Fantina and Mondello. That's going back quite a few years, so I don't know if that's still the case, but the flavor is pretty close to what the ones that my parents used to buy way back. Lots of fennel. They're delicious. Unfortunately, Costco's lineup was way too long at 8 o'clock this morning, so I ended up buying these sausages at Don's.
Someone wants to know the Parmesan cheese goes in at the end.
Parmesan cheese goes in at the end, yes. I'm going to, the rice is really close. We're almost there. It's sticking, and a little bit more stock. Now we want to be careful not to add too much stock at one time, because we kind of want this creamy consistency, but not like the rice soup, okay? So, just going to be patient with this, because the last few minutes, this rice will be ready, and we don't want to... this is almost the consistency that I would serve the risotto in, maybe slightly less liquid, so we're getting there. I'm just going to turn the oven on for something completely unrelated. Okay, keep getting your spoon down to the bottom. And now that the rice is just about cooked, you can add your peas. Okay, the peas are probably still a little bit cold. I know I said thawed. These were, okay, and now these were still slightly frozen, so they're going to drop the temperature down a little bit. But here we go. We're getting a nice consistency here to this rice. Almost there.
Louis would like you to make this next year.
Louis. On the golf trip, you mean?
Yes.
I don't know if I can make this for 12 guys. Okay, we're just about there, guys. Our salt's already in. And do the salt again, just to make sure it's the right seasoning. Pepper. Now, I'm not going to put the Parmesan cheese in until we're just ready to serve, because I don't want it sticking to the bottom, making this too cheesy here. So we're just going to wait right to the end.
Krim says he'll help you at the golf trip.
And we're pretty close. My risotto has a little bite to it. This one's ready. Right? So I wouldn't add any more liquid to this. I might just add a touch more just to bring it down to a little more liquidy, but I'm going to turn this off. And one last stir. My risotto is ready. If yours isn't, it should be close. Like I said, you want a little bite to the rice. You don't want it too mushy. You don't want it mushy at all, actually. Parmesan cheese, I'm not going to add all of it. You might want to save some for the top when you plate. I'm using freshly grated Parmigiano Reggiano here. If all you have is the powdered stuff from the grocery store, it'll do. But if you have a chance, buy the real stuff. It makes a huge difference. Now that this is cooked, completely off, parsley, and we're ready for the table. One last taste for salt. And the reason why I check it at the end is the Parmesan cheese, the Parmigiano, is a bit salty. So if you're fully salted here and you've tasted it and you say it's good to go and you add this, you might make your dish a little overly salty. So just check it at the end. It doesn't need any more salt, for me anyway. Nice consistency. Made a mess in my plate. Clean that up. You can add a little more parsley if you like. A little cheese. And there's your risotto with Italian sausage, green peas, and that took us 37 minutes. If you include the prep, another meal on your table in under an hour. I hope you guys enjoyed that. If there are any last minute or last second questions, I'd be happy to answer them now. If not, I'm signing off and I'm going to eat.
Do you deliver?
No. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining. I hope you enjoyed this one. And the video will be recorded on Facebook as well. Thank you. Have a nice evening.